Oh gosh, you guys look so beautiful. What up, folks? It's Mikey G here, the Midlife Freaking Podcast Show. We are gonna have a blast tonight. We have some Say Legends with Trips and Simply. But before we get into the show, just a little quick housekeeping update, like usual. Already had a killer week. We had Lemon Hayes, Bitcoin ordinal artist. He was killer. Awesome conversation. Super talented. He had him on Monday. Tuesday, we had the founder, Charles from Nifty Island. Gaming still kind of the meta. We had a fantastic conversation. He was actually on the show back in 2022, almost the end of 2021. That's how long we've been grinding. And I knew gaming was meta years ago. So the joke is on all of you for not seeing the meta come like I did years ago. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, I'm going to Disney next week with the fam. It's my sister-in-law's 40th birthday, I think. Yeah, she's turning 40 and that's what she wanted to do. So we're gonna go. We got a little 6-month-old son. He's gonna not remember it, but I'm gonna remember it, and I think he's gonna love every second of it. Maddie, again, he is still alive. We actually finally got his schedule for the month. We got 3 or 4 days off planned that we're going to try to get a podcast in. So you will see that dude's tatted up, beautiful body on podcast here soon. And I think that's it. So again, we have some legendary Say guests here. I love Say because it reminds me of 2021 Solana. It's got a really cool underground vibe. I met really cool people like we have on the show today. We've had Benny on the show. I've got Sold One lined up. I'm talking to Prospero. I'm talking to the Spuds team. And everybody is just insanely and super supportive, which I love about it. And we all look out for each other. We're in a little
special.
And it's special, man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much opportunity. It's in the beginning, and it's cool that we're here talking about it. And I think, listen, you got to be serious when you're looking at the crypto stuff, and you cannot deny that it does not hurt being early, right, gents? Being early is huge in this space.
I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
We're kind of like so early where even guys 3 months later, they're going to come in and they're going to say we're early.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're that early.
Listen, man. I was like, I think I told you guys, 8B's Mod back in 2021, they were saying they're early then, and we're still early. I mean, it really is true. It's crazy. So yeah, really cool community. Really excited to have Simply and Trips on. How we like to do it before we get to the world famous midlife crisis question, though, a little formal introduction. So Trips is a master of what did you say? Master of
jack of all trades,
jack of all trades, master of none. But that's bullshit. Trips is brilliant.
Yeah.
Trips has had many different jobs, going from wineries all the way to oil and gas. And then he spent oil and gas a little over a decade, was working in the fields, but also was doing land work deals as well. So Trips, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. Oh, and final fact, he did go to college for 8 years, which is damn impressive.
That's right. 8-year plan with a bachelor's degree to show for it.
I love it. Fantastic. I almost took that route because I went to Penn State, which is a massive school, and it is very difficult to concentrate at a place like that. But fortunately, I had a good network, and they made me actually go to class. So that's Trips. Thank you for being here, man. Simply has got a really interesting background as well. So his parents were missionaries, which means he traveled all over the world, not just the U.S., the world. Has a mechanical engineering degree and spent a lot of time in business. Aerospace engineering degree, which, by the way, my co-founder has an aerospace engineering degree from Penn State.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We talked about that.
And spent a lot of time in business development, and now is actually Web3 full time and is making some really amazing art. Simply, welcome to the freaking show, man. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is dope.
I really need to say too, I'm just gonna say it right now, and I know people that are watching right now think it. You have a sexy voice, dude. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna like that right now. Look, he's bashful. He just went off camera.
Yeah, you're making them shy.
No, but dude, I am so excited. We're gonna have a fantastic conversation. So let's get to world famous midlife crisis question, gentlemen. I'm gonna start with you, Trips, like I said, and then I'll go to you simply. How did you get to the seat you're sitting in today? Please give us Star Wars episode 1, 2, and 3. 1 being childhood influences. How was your mindset mold the way that you think today? Episode 2 being your professional career. Episode 3 being Web3 journey currently and beyond. So, Trips, we're going to start with you. Episode 1. Give me some childhood experiences, mindsets, things that you remember to help mold the mindset that you have today, brother. I cannot wait to hear it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, for me, it's family. I've come from, I have a big family, very close knit. Grew up with, a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins and large family gatherings. All, most of my family is, close in proximity, especially growing up. Heavily influenced, my grandparents were very involved in my life. So yeah, just real close knit, family. Kind of grew up in a small town, small Texas town. So in
Right.
church, and just good wholesome family values.
Dude, I love it. And so I'm going to have to grade you here, buddy. I love you already, but I'm going to have to give you like an F on episode 1. You
Oh,
gave
no.
me like family. Now that I love it. It's great, but I'm looking for just a little bit more than that. So let me do this.
All right.
Let's go with family. Talk to me about within your family, grandparents, parents, anybody that was kind of a mentor that you looked up, maybe skill sets, maybe even stories that you remember that made you think about. You obviously are a hard worker, right?
Yeah.
Multiple
So
jobs, you kicked ass. Gas and oil ain't easy, right? And you did it for a long time. So some couple stories or thoughts there. Do you got anything for me?
well, so yeah, I mean, like hard work. So, um, my grandfather was a very successful entrepreneur. I'm always kind of I have an entrepreneurial spirit. You know, my dad was all about hard work. I mean, he's a farmer and rancher primarily in the cattle industry still to this day. So it was always like go to work, and I mean, my family was well to do, but
Yeah.
I had to pay for everything myself. I had to
Mm,
have a job. If I wanted a car, I had to get a job and work for it. I had to pay for my own insurance. I had to pay for my gas. I got a job sacking groceries at 15. And yeah, just always work, 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 work for everything you get and hustle and don't take anything for granted. So that's kind of like very hard nosed,
right.
mindset,
Right.
but also
See?
very like I've got to be my own boss. I hate being told what to do, and I think all the men in my family are like that.
Right.
Just very strong willed,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
And so yeah, I just kind of grew up, around that, and like if you
Right.
want something, you got to go get it, and earn it.
See, look at this. This is beautiful. You're already opening up like a beautiful petal, just like a flower blooming right in front of my eyes. So you said a lot of really interesting things there. One being the hard work, but what you said, what I thought was really, really interesting was your family was well to do, but they didn't pay for anything. So was that, you think, obviously intentional, I'm assuming? Were there any stories or any other intentions as to why they did that? Or was you were just that bullish on getting things that you just went out there and got it yourself?
Yeah, just I mean, you know, don't ever take anything for granted. I think that was I never really. The funny thing is, I didn't know, you know, it's more my grandfather was very successful, and I mean my dad as well. But that was never a focus in our family. Money was
Right.
not. ever a focus. And I didn't know, like, I would have friends be like, oh, your family's rich. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
Right.
not me. Like, I'm working, And so
Right.
I think they never wanted to make that, a focus.
Right.
And because I've seen what, to me, money is the root of all evil, and I
Right.
see what it does to people. It just ruins people.
Right.
And so I think that was very important, and my family's very Christian, as am I,
Right.
and you can be successful, but in the end, you can't take it with you. So it really doesn't matter. You know what I
Well,
mean?
so and that's another thing too. Like, I mean, listen, we're we're building brands online, right? So I know religion and politics and all of that stuff are taboo subjects, but I would love to just touch on that, because if faith was a big part of your upbringing, can you talk about how that molded your mindset? Because I think that's important, right? And no matter what the faith is, we could be Christian, you
Sure.
can be Buddhist, you can be whatever. But I'd love to hear kind of your perception and kind of how that impacted you, because I think that's very, very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, faith has always been something for me. I mean, it's like I've gone from both ends of the, spectrum.
Right.
Growing up in the church and seeing I saw a lot of hypocrisy. People
Yeah.
that were just there, on Sundays
Yep.
to kind of, I call it it's like business, you know what I mean? Like, oh, just see and
Right.
be seen. And it's like people checking off the box.
Right.
Well, I went and saw Johnny and slapped him on the back and said, hey, how's it going? But,
Yeah.
the rest of the week, they weren't practicing what they preach, so to speak.
Right.
And so that kind of turned me off at a young age.
Right.
And, I went way far away from it. But then I kind of came back, as I grew up and started my own family and had children. And, I became much stronger in my faith. So, yeah, it was kind of went full circle on that, so to speak.
Right. And do you think do you think it is more, just the principles of as you've gotten older, things like paying it forward, being kind, not chasing all of the material objects just seem to resonate with you more? Are there any principles or kind of mantras that you really abide by, that seem to have helped impact you over life?
Yeah, I mean, well, 10 commandments are a good start.
Right.
Do
Right.
unto others, treat
Yeah.
people the way you want to be treated.
Right.
That was instilled in me at a very young age.
Yeah.
And something that I try to live by. Like, you kind of get out what you put in.
Yeah.
What, I guess, whatever you want to call it, karma, what goes around comes around. I mean,
Mhm.
I do believe in that a lot. And yeah, I mean, just, also turn the other cheek would be something I like to live by.
Yep.
It's just a good way to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, yeah, and
And
I
be
agree.
humble. Humility is important, and not a lot of people have that.
Especially in this space, right?
Yeah.
It's all about me and how much I'm gonna pump my bags, and everyone comes off with "wag me" all day long, and it's rainbows and sunshines. But when shit hits the fan, and the people that watch my show a lot are sick of this, but I'm gonna say it again, dude. I am telling you, the first month of Hate Beast was one of the most magical experiences of my life. You
Dude,
had
didn't it
people.
start at like 8.5 ETH or some shit like that? I
Mhm.
No,
remember it.
I'm talking before when the Discord opened, right? There was already
Oh,
200,000 people in this thing within the first month, right? There was a million people in the server by the end. But
damn.
what I'm
That's
getting at
crazy.
is
There was a
exactly
million?
a
There was
million.
a million?
There was a million people in the server. It was insane. So when what Trips is saying though, it is so spot on, is because it's all wag me and sunshine and but when it gets hard, and it's one of our pillars at Midlife Crisis, right? One of our pillars to our mission statement, which is bringing back the lost art of genuine human connection, is be kind, especially when it's hard, right? It's easy to be kind when people are being kind to you, but when someone's real shitty to you, to still want to shake their hand and help them out, that's the true test, right? And
Yeah.
so the hate beast example is
Oh, buddy.
200,000 people in the first month. People are in voice chat, hundreds of people in voice chat 24/7.
Oh,
They're
big
giving,
love fest, right?
yeah, they're giving
Yo, bro,
Photoshop
yo.
lessons. Everyone's sharing their skill set. Everybody's best friends. And then the time starts getting closer to mint, and you're getting closer to mint. And then everyone realizes, oh shit, there's like a 0.003% chance I get hate bliss. And sure enough, guess what's happening? Now things are starting to get angry. Now things are starting to get toxic, right? And this beautiful vibe just slowly starts deteriorating away. So back to what you're saying, Trips, is like, faith or whatever, however you get to these mindsets, I think they're so critically important. And I think people don't talk about it enough, and especially in a space like this, is because there's so much topical things. And again, why I said, and I told you guys in the beginning of this is why we do this, because with you telling me the principles and your mindsets of how you think, I'm more willing to trust you, because I think what you're saying is stuff that I believe in, right? And I think these conversations are critically important. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that with me. I do have one more question, and then I'll pop it over to Simply, because we're already just we're vibing here. Your grandfather being an entrepreneur, an successful entrepreneur, I would love to know anything, and more as like not your older self looking back. As a kid or younger, do you remember kind of pulling anything from him or him teaching you any lessons?
I mean, yeah, like one thing. I mean, it's not business related, but he loved playing cards. So
Right,
we'd sit down, and he taught me a lot of patience.
right.
I guess would be one thing. Like he taught me how to play gin. I don't know if you're familiar with that game.
Oh yeah,
Great card game,
right,
and I mean, I'm still like very good card player to this day. And I remember he just whipped me.
yeah,
Like he never took it easy on me.
right,
I was the oldest out of all. We have, like I said, I have a lot of cousins.
right.
And I mean, he would just beat me handily over and over again until I figured it out. You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
I mean, I respected that. And I remember I never liked, like, I would want to do jobs. And so I'd go, one summer I had a mowing business, me and my buddy, and
Right.
we'd go around in my truck and, cut grass, and we'd knock on doors. If somebody's grass looked like it needed cut, we'd stop, get out, go knock on the door. Hey, we're here. Can we mow your yard? But he'd let us come do his yard. And we got done once, and I went to go get the money, and he goes, well, and I had mowed one half of the yard, and my buddy had mowed the other half. And I
Right.
think I think my buddy's lawnmower was set at like a 2.5, and mine was set at a 2. And he noticed it. He was like, that side's longer than the other. And I was like, what? No, like pay me. And he goes, no, I'm not paying you until you finish the job.
Right.
And he made us go back and mow the other side so it would match the other side. And I
Yeah.
was so mad, but it was like, you gotta learn a lesson when you're working for somebody. You got to do the job how they want it done,
Yeah.
regardless. See, I still remember that to this day. He was very, very particular.
Yeah, and set yet another beautiful story, right? There's a couple things in there which you're talking about, which is attention to detail and patience, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you still went back, even though you're getting your ass handed to you, because you were interested in learning, growing, but you were patient and you weren't just blowing up. I mean, I see so many kids in this day and age, if they don't get what they want right away, it's over,
Oh
just
yeah, it's
completely
bad.
game over, right? So like, and it's interesting now, you looking back, kind of linking those together, because of course, when you're young, you're not putting that together, right?
Not
But
at
being
all.
able to look back at those scenarios and again, see why you think the way you think a little bit is, I just always think fascinating exercise to go through. So thank you so much again for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Any other last thoughts before I go to Simply, or you feel good about that?
No, yeah, I feel good about it. Just sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, he passed away. Let's see. Shoot, I think it was maybe 2019,
Yeah.
2020. But before I got into the crypto world, so I can imagine myself like trying to have a conversation with him right now, and he's like, "So
Right.
what are you up to?"
Right.
And I'd be like, "Well, let me tell you about digital money." He'd be like, "Oh my God, get out of here with that," because I mean, he grew up in the Great Depression, coming
Right.
out of that era where it was just like you didn't waste money on anything. I mean, he went to work at like his first job was a newspaper boy at like 8,
Right.
and he'd ride on the side of a car, like with the big running boards and throw newspapers out into the front yards of people.
Right.
So yeah, trying to explain digital money, I think would be a hilarious conversation to have. But
Dude, and that you do bring up one more thing before I go to Simply, and I think this is
yeah,
really interesting. You grew up with that, like being conscious of money, right? And
yeah,
understanding hard work takes to get money. And I find myself, and you probably find yourself a lot of times, you're like, there's rounding errors here in the crypto space that are in the hundreds, if not thousands, sometimes, right? Have you felt knowing where you came from? Do you get a little numb to that now that you're like hardcore in the digital currency, or do you kind of hold yourself in check and still think like, oh shit, man, I just spent like $100 on gas. Like this is bullshit, right?
yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
I mean, yeah, I'm not as bad, but I mean, yeah, it's going back and looking at it like from the ETH. I came in like February 2021
Yeah.
and kind of went through the whole ETH cycle like we all did, and yeah, looking back on it, it's like wow, it's embarrassing,
All
really,
right.
and and that's why I'll never go back. That's why I love to say it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I just transferred. I was cleaning out my wallet and I connected to Quick, which the one nice thing I like about Quick is you can select 30 NFTs and send them to another wallet in one bulk transaction, and it's like 5 cents. you know. And I did
Amazing.
that the other day, cleaning out just some junk. I have a
Yeah.
wallet called the Junkyard, so I was sending everything. I was sending a bunch of stuff to the Junkyard, and
Right.
it's like, wow, I will never go back to Ethereum again for this. Like I guess
Yeah,
ETH is always going to have its place, but as far as having fun and doing NFTs, no,
right. Yeah.
done.
Yeah, we can talk about Bitcoin ordinals back in the Web3 once we get there, because that's an interesting
Yeah,
phenomenon going on right now, obviously running by the Bitcoin price. But all right, Simply, you've been quiet for a while, and now it's your time
It's my time.
to go underneath the spotlight for episode 1. All right. So, episode 1, man, you just experienced Trip crush episode 1. Now I had to give him a little tough love there
Crushed
at
it.
the beginning. There was a little tough love. I gave him a bad
Yeah.
grade,
I
but
have
then
to
we
do a
got there.
follow up. It's kind
Yeah,
of
we
rough
got
now.
there. So Trips just kind of like took you to school on what an episode 1 looks like. So now it's your time to shine, man. So I can't wait to hear your episode 1, because I think you have a really interesting one as well. So let's hear it, man.
I mean, I think Trips basically said everything I agree with.
Oh,
I think we had this talk where we're both kind of like we are like the prodigal sons, I guess, in a certain sense. Yeah, me too. I kind of went my own way, and I don't know.
all right. Well, don't worry,
Yeah,
because I'm gonna
life.
give you
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a grade. I won't repeat Trip's grade. I'm gonna give you a B minus, okay? But let's start here. Because I think there's it's a really interesting. Not a lot of people get to grow up with parents as missionaries. So you said you traveled a lot, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk
So
about some of the places where did you start? Where were some of the places you went to? And I think traveling to many different places as a younger person, it definitely has profound effects on you. So can you talk to us about that a little bit?
yeah, yeah. My parents are a bit hardcore.
Right.
So, for example, my mom, she had a she decided to have a C-section because she wanted to make it to this missionary like orientation something in England. So
Yeah.
essentially, I was born in South Korea, and when I was like about 7 months, they
Uh-huh.
flew out. And then I think by the time after orientation,
Yeah.
they went to Romania. So this is like 1991 still. I think I was still about like, yeah, probably younger than a year. And
Yeah.
so was there for about 7 years. I was quite young. I do have memories, but I guess the most significant memory I have is I knew they were away a lot. And it was always this old Romanian farmer couple that took care of me.
Wow.
And I thought they were my grandparents until, when I turned 7, we went back to Korea and then met my real grandparents. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's
you know?
amazing.
Yeah. And so I spoke fluent Romanian, which I literally do not know a word of. It's insane.
Right.
Um,
Like you
but that was
don't
like my
know it
first
now.
language. No, just
Right.
nothing. And then learn Korean. And then we stayed in Korea for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then back to England for another orientation. And by that time, I'm about like 8
Yeah.
or 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Senegal, West Africa.
Wow.
It's where Akon is from.
Oh. You and Anton grew up together, huh?
We have a little inside joke at Naked because I thought Aiken was Akon. I don't know if you know Aiken, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've been in Senegal for about 9-10 years. So that's actually most of my adolescence, really.
Right. Kind of like childhood memories there. And growing up there, culture-wise, like, or what were you into? Have you always been into art? Like, do you remember finally learning art when you were younger? Can you speak to like
Actually,
what your interests were or that experience?
I mean, I was into art, but most times I was just busy surviving. So,
Yeah.
those times it was just, I had a favorite AK. I had a favorite bow. It was those kind of days.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
just a whole different world than where I'm at today, for sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thinking about then till now, right?
Mm.
And like living in Chicago, going and getting an aerospace engineering degree, being in digital currency and being, I'll call you the most, if not one of the most famous artists on say. You're straight up a celebrity. I had
That's crazy.
I've had a couple people say, "When does the stream start?" Because I need to see Simply Talk. Uh,
I still
Going
can't
from
believe it.
that experience that you
Uh-huh.
just told me about to now, looking back,
Hmm.
does it make you appreciate things more?
Oh,
Is
of
that any, like,
course.
mindset? Can you talk to me about that mindset or appreciating things more or looking back, thoughts that pop up?
Like definitely some things that I think about is I wasn't really appreciative of that life at all.
Yeah,
Obviously, the thoughts that I had then is kind of like, why can't be just a regular American kid,
right,
at home with a PlayStation. I
right,
heard Lord of the Rings was really fun.
right, right,
Like that's the type of thought that I had, you know, and then
right,
thinking I'm gonna have to wake up early and go hunting, you
right.
know, probably gonna have to run about another 20 miles type of stuff,
That's
you
insane.
know.
Yeah,
So definitely appreciate a lot of things. But now I'm 32, left Africa when I was about 18, I think.
Yeah.
Graduated high school there in like it was like a American international school. Interesting.
Right.
So that's where I picked up my English.
Right. Gotcha. So that, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a fascinating story. And I think that having that perspective, sorry, my dog is being
But yeah, nowadays I kind of want to go back, you know. It's strange. It's like it's much simpler, you know. Now it's all
Yes.
so complicated.
Right.
Everything's so complicated. You got freaking bills and shit and
Mm-hmm.
everything. You got people
Damn
to
those
take care
bills.
of, you
Right.
know. But then I was just running around, you know.
Running around with
Running
AK and a
around.
bow, apparently. For
Well,
miles on
just
end.
in case. That is always just in case. Yeah.
Just
You don't
in-
want to ruin the meme, you know what I'm saying? Oh shoot.
Right.
I
But
don't know what people think about these things. I know Trips don't care. He's a Texan, you know. Like
yeah, some people might take offense to that. We're
sorry about that. You know.
no, it's totally fine. I mean that's
I
the
was
thing.
hungry.
Exactly. I mean, there was a function to what was going on there. But no, at the same time, I'm glad you brought this up, right? And again, you're now crushing episode 1 because you revealed a lot of really interesting things. And you know, the reason why I do this is because even the small stories that you just told simply, there could be someone. I literally just talked to somebody in Africa last week that was trying to start a Web3 radio station in real life,
Dude,
right? And
that's fascinating.
he watches my podcast now, right?
That's awesome.
And now he's gonna hear your story, and he'll probably reach out to me and be like, "Dude, I would love to talk to Simply," and you revealing these things just help us connect better. And there's gonna be someone else that watches this and can relate to what you just said and be like, somebody gets me, right? So I really appreciate you sharing that. I do think it's interesting what you say though on the simplicity, right? And I think it's something that is missed in this day and age a lot, right? Again, go to Web3. If I go on Twitter every day, I feel like there's a million things that I'm missing and I'm never doing enough, right? But the true success comes from keeping it simple and being able to put those blinders on and know that you have a purpose and whatever you have decided to do, and you really should be concentrating on that because you can't be chasing airdrops, you can't be DJing, you can't be creating art, you can't be a founder, you can't be the best Twitter person in the world all at once, right? What are your thoughts there? Do you agree? Do you have anything to add to that? And if you don't, it's totally cool.
I don't know. I mean, you can't, but you can try your best. And I think, like Trip said, if you stay humble, yeah, I think you can learn a lot of things from and that's the key to learning, I think, for sure.
Right.
Is to be able to remain humble. If you don't, you just can't really learn anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what you just talked about too, there's probably a little bit of humbleness that was gained from those experiences as well, right? Because when you were running around literally
with
as
masters,
you said,
I'm always the runt in that group. You know, I'm just trying to catch up every day, dude.
Exactly.
And then I got to a point where I could keep up, but still a run.
Right.
But
Exactly.
they took care of me.
And then, but I think what I'm also trying to get at is you didn't have the PlayStation. You didn't have Lord of the Rings. You understood like kind of what like a simple life was.
Oh, we had Lord of the Rings though. Oh, we love that.
No, you actually did, but you didn't have.
We got like my uncle in Korea. He like sent us like this camcorder recorded like CD,
All right. Well, you
Oh,
didn't
you
have
know, and like the whole family's like trying to watch it on this like laptop. You know,
that's hilarious.
we gotta time it, or we gotta watch it in increments because the battery runs out,
Right.
and then the power isn't on all the time. So you gotta like, I don't know. It was a whole it was a whole power management system. It was great,
Dude.
but we watched it. Yeah.
And being humble is a product of that too. I think before I go back to trips on episode 2, back to the conversation of doing everything all at once, but basically being a master and none. For you specifically as an artist in this space, do
Mhm.
you find that is difficult as well? Or do you feel like you're very good at concentrating on just making art, specifically in Web3?
I feel like I'm in Web3 because it's fun.
Okay.
So kind of all these related things, you know, I don't know. It's like the process is like kind of like my reward. It's interesting. So I can just keep going because it's just fun for me. It
Right.
doesn't really feel like anything that I would do any different if I didn't have a live anyway, which is just talking to people, hanging out in communities,
Right.
talking about projects,
Hmm.
you know, and then
No,
it's just adding, my stuff on top of it. I do think it's still a little bit awkward being called an artist, Maybe I'll get used to it one day.
oh, I
But
like that. I like that a lot. And we will get back to that in episode 3. But dude, thank you for sharing. Like, it's not easy for everybody to share childhood stories, and you're opening up. I'm seeing you open up like a beautiful flower for my eyes as well. So I'm getting you in trips to just slowly just become these budding beautiful flowers. So I appreciate you sharing those times. Trip.
I'm 45. I bought it a long time ago.
Sheesh.
I thought I was the oldest
Boomer.
person in Web3. I'm 42. You got me beat by 3 years.
But I mean, look at this mug. I look like I'm 30, right? Come on.
You're beautiful. Yeah, people call me 28 all the time, and I'm like, damn, thanks, man. I'm way
No,
more.
I can see that for both of you though. So I don't know.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Okay, so episode 2. Remind everybody, episode 2. That's in the middle of your life, Trips. I would love to talk about again, and I think we can put it in the frame of mentors, lessons learned, simply just disappeared, which is totally cool. And then the oil and gas industry, I think, is interesting as well. We've got that we got that theme of hard work. But anything you can kind of explain or share with us through that period of your life before you found Web3?
Yeah, I mean, so again, college was kind of a, hit and miss. I bounced around. I went to let's see, I went to 5 universities and 3, call them JUCOs.
Yeah.
I mean, took a semester off, I think, flunked out once. I partied a lot, went to a lot of, I used to go do a lot of like the tours, like with the jam bands. I would go to a lot of like Fish shows and Widespread Panic, stuff like
Love it.
that. Go to festivals. I mean, I'm just always kind of been a free spirit,
Right.
just kind of go whichever way the wind blows. Got married at a young age, which that didn't work out. I'm on my second marriage now, which is much better.
It happens sometimes when you get married young.
It does. It's funny because like everybody, my parents were like, you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm in love, and they're like, okay. And yeah, luckily that was amicable. We kind of went our separate way and that was that. But
Right.
yeah, so I, just did a lot of different jobs out of college, worked for a winery, kind of bounced around, At one point I was working for a startup. We were doing rainwater harvesting systems,
Wow.
like whole house,
Yeah.
where you collect all the rain from the roof, store it in a big tank, and then tie that into your sprinkler system. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then I got into the oil and gas business just by default. I'd been out in New Mexico doing some real estate stuff with a buddy, and then came back to Texas
Hmm.
and needed a job. And my buddy was like, "Oh, why don't you be a landman?" I was like, "What the fuck is a landman?" Sorry.
And now you can say fuck as much as you want.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was like, "What is that?" And he goes, "Well, you research title." And I'm like, "All right, what does that mean?" And if you that's what a landman basically. If you're doing oil and gas work, you go lease the mineral rights, and in Texas, the mineral rights are separate from the surface rights, right? So like let's say I own 100 acres of land.
Hmm.
Now I own 100 acres of that surface, and then I also own 100 acres of the mineral rights, which is anything that could be extracted from subsurface, right?
Right.
But in Texas, like I can sell you, Mikey G, I can be like, I'm going to sell you 100 acres of land. And you're like, oh, yeah, do I get the minerals? And I'm like, well, save and accept 50% of the mineral rights. So now you own the surface and half of those rights, but I still own the other half, right?
Fascinating.
Yes. So when somebody and when an oil and gas company comes along and says we want to explore for oil underneath this surface, well,
Right.
they'd have to go talk to the mineral owners, and so in this case, it would be you and me,
Right.
right? And so what a landman did was go sort out all the titles. So you go back and look at every time the property changed hands, and you get in the courthouse and search through the records,
Right.
and you'd make a chain of title and figure out, all right, who owns what, who do I talk to? You can get into deals where it's like, well, somebody owns the minerals, but they don't have the rights to lease the minerals. You could I could sell you the land and 100% of the minerals, but I retain the executive rights. So it means I'm the only one who can actually sign the lease. So
Sounds like something Web3 could be helpful for, huh?
it really does. I've actually thought about that a lot. At some point, all title, I think, will be on the blockchain.
Right.
They're not there yet, but yeah, it definitely will be at some point. So yeah, I got into that, and it was just kind of because my buddy was making $500 a day and getting per diem and mileage, because you'd have to go to the county courthouse.
Right.
So, you might drive round trip 100 miles a day. Pardon, that's my alarm going off.
That's all right.
And I was like, well, shit, that sounds good. It's good money, and I took a class over a weekend. And this was when it was real hot. It was called the Barnett Shell. It was in Fort Worth. And they just needed people, and I was like, well, I'm smart. I can teach myself almost anything. So I took a little class over the weekend and, plugged into my network, and I had a job within a week. And that's how I got into the oil and gas business.
So going through that time, I mean, this is really fascinating, the ownership and stuff. Any mentors, any kind of I would say skill sets, lessons learned during that time, looking back?
I mean, I met a lot of cool people, I also worked with some, some guys that were doing some shady stuff. And I learned what not to do. Hold on. Let me go fix this real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. Dude, Trips got alarms and stuff going off in the background, bro. I can't wait to hear when we get to Web3 here soon how you two met. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, that's a good story. Yeah.
I cannot wait. But yeah, I think any lessons learned from that experience, people you met. You said you saw a lot of shady people and what not to do, which is another parallel to Web3, right? That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Anything else to expand on that?
No, I know. I mean, it's just you get in the business world, and maybe that's why I've never, I tell people I've never been super, super successful, because I can't just shit on somebody,
Right.
and it seems like, you see a lot of that. Like you see these people who are just filthy rich, and it's like, well, how many throats did you cut? You know,
Right.
metaphorically speaking, to get to where
Right.
you are. You know, like I have to be able to sleep at night. At the end of the day, you know, I try to let my conscience guide me. I'm not
Right.
perfect, you know, but I try to, you know, do as best as I can in that regards.
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, you know, it's like I say I can be my worst enemy because I'm just too nice. I'd rather lose than, you know, sacrifice my my integrity.
Yeah. And I think that's a fascinating point in something that I struggle with myself. I think a lot of other people have struggled with, especially in the, like you said, the business world, right? Listen, you are not becoming a billionaire without making some pretty tough decisions, probably some wrong decisions as well, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah, you
you're
sure do.
impacting lives, right? And so at what cost is that? And that is why I've chose to do this format to podcast, right? Because humans and these connections and these stories and these conversations is what really drive me. And I think there's something pure about that. And, you know, if you go through my Twitter, you will never see a random thread about a project because I got paid for a tweet. I will only talk to people that have been on my show, or I know them personally. And because that's important to me. And that's how I hold my integrity within the space. And it's good that you found that in your own path as well. And then yet again, just a really good background and story of how you got there, because this again shows your character as we continue to both grow and evolve in the Say ecosystem. So again, appreciate the insights and thanks for telling the story, man.
Yeah, sure.
Simply, you're up, brother. Episode 2.
My turn.
Now, before we get to episode 2, there was one question about episode 1, which came from the audience, and I thought it was kind of it's just another way of what I was trying to ask. Do you remember, like, was there at any point culture shock? Because you said you were, you know, living in Africa, really living a very simple life, right? And then at some point that changed. So do you remember that transition impacting you at all?
I mean, I kind of like lived like how they lived, you know? It was really just a shock in the beginning of everything, but now when I kind of look at it, it all feels super familiar, you know,
Right.
more nostalgic than anything, than feeling like it's out of place. But I mean, the first thing has got to be just the obvious things. You know, a lot of times there's like no running water, electricity is out all the time. The president wins by promising that no power will go out for a year, and he wins.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, because that's just the standard sometimes. Not saying any negative thing. This is like way back when, you know.
Right.
I'm pretty sure you guys, if you're Senegalese, you know who I'm talking about. It's really funny.
So I've been actually talking about the other side, like going from that, then going to, you know, now I'm going to graduate high school, going into college. That adjustment time. Do you remember that, or were you just too young to not really remember that transition?
Ooh, actually, more shocking part for me now when I feel about it is going from Africa to Canada to
Right.
study aerospace.
Right.
And it's
Right.
cold as shit there.
So it's more just the
And,
weather.
you know, like I just remember like standing at a bus stop and this girl is like just chilling with a mini skirt. I'm like, I had to ask because you know, she's a stranger. I was like, aren't you like, are you okay? Like, do you like,
Are you
do
mentally
you need
insane?
something? Like, are you alright? She's like, oh yeah, makes my legs skinnier. I'm like, what? It does? You know, like, still haven't confirmed on that information yet, but that is what I have heard.
Well, that's a good segue. And now, you know, we're getting into college, right? You chose aerospace engineering.
Mm-hmm.
you said, you did business development, that time frame kind of before Web3.
Mhm.
Again, lessons learned. Did you find some mentors? Were there some skill sets that you picked up that you think help you in Web3 today, or just help you in life in general currently?
I'd say I feel like I made a lot of mistakes when I
Mm,
was young, in
yeah.
my early 20s.
Okay.
So went through a lot of painful stuff. And so I just kind of had to grow up fast
Right.
at that point.
Right.
And so I did. So I guess, yeah, what I learned in general, this could be overgeneralization, but
Okay.
I've seen two kinds of people in the world.
Uh-huh.
The one kind comes through the fire kind of burnt toast, full of
Mhm.
bitterness, resentment,
Mhm.
regrets. And then I've seen the other kind where they come out refined,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
And I feel like I've been fortunate in that regard.
Right.
I I came out much sharper, much sturdier, you know. Just had to learn those hard lessons really hard, but
Right.
I'm all better for it, for sure.
I love that, man. And so here's a natural follow-up question, I think, is going through, I think I shared with you, I went through a major depressive order and it was not good. And I got through it out the other side more clear than I've ever been before. Hence another reason why I do this podcast is because I love people and I think it's something that I'm good at. And I think it's kind of one of my missions on earth, right? Is to connect with people and help share stories. Uh I I've personally got through it because of modern medicine, support networks, and really the support networks more than anything else. Like just the people that was surrounded with me that loved me and cared me and helped me get through these times, right? To But I think there are some people that don't have that, that it just inherently are. Though I think the word is grit, right? They're just gritty.
Hmm.
Man. They just can do that. In your personal experience, what do you think helped get through the tough times and come out sharper? I think that's
Whew.
fascinating to me.
I mean, it's so simple for me, but it was
Yeah.
definitely God, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
just no other way. I
Right.
mean, maybe I can one day tell you guys everything personally, but
Yeah. No, I don't need.
yeah,
I
of
don't want you to
course.
share it
Yeah.
on podcast, of course. But I'm interested in kind of what got you to that. And spirituality is
Hmm.
absolutely um but one thing that gets through people through a lot of things. So if that's the answer, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, for
And I'm
sure.
glad that you feel like you came through it and were sharper as well. So I feel for your brother. I know life
Man,
can kick you in the face multiple
sometimes
times.
life, yeah, just hits you like a truck, and
Right.
then a steamroller comes over, you know?
Man, exactly.
You're like, "What the fuck? I was already down, bro."
And just when you're getting back up, it hits you. I like to
Again,
say, it kicks
the
you in the
scooter
nuts
this time.
again. Or dude, yeah, it kicks you in the nuts again just when you're like, man, shit is going pretty good. And they're like,
Exactly.
no, how about you go back down to your knees on this one?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, no, thank you so much for sharing that. I obviously I could tell there was some pain and some tough times there. But hearing that you got through it through spirituality is awesome. And yet again, someone is going to be able to relate to that. And thank you for sharing that story. More to the kind of business side of things before we get to Web3. The
Mhm.
kind of the last question here is the biz dev time, aerospace engineering is an insanely tough education and degree to get. Anything there, skill sets gained that you have helped you in the Web3 space?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't remember almost anything. But
How about in the business world, not necessarily your college degree?
I mean, it did help in a sense. Like I really learned how to focus in engineering. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Because I remember like I would just daydream for 5 minutes and then look back at the board and I have no idea what's going on for the entire class, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
so then I learned quick, like I can't look away. I used to fall asleep a lot too in class. And I
Yeah.
don't fall asleep. I can stay awake
Right.
pretty good. Yeah. I can keep myself awake pretty good.
You keep yourself away.
Yeah, those are pretty good life skills. Business wise, it was more, it was just so much learning about people, because you're dealing with hiring people, finding people, recruiting, training, collaborating, you know, building teams, building products, so many different aspects. But, at the end of it, what I learned is, yeah, the important part is the people. And that
Yeah.
is also the exact same principle that I apply to, my NFT project too. Because some things don't change. And that is that people need people,
Mhm.
and we all need belonging. We all just need a place to say, like, I feel welcome here. Just
Mhm.
even that
Yeah.
goes a long way, you know.
It's huge, man.
Just simple things.
Yeah.
Simple things. It's not that complicated.
I
It
mean,
seems that what everybody wants, or what I think I want as a human being, is what everybody else wants. Seems pretty simple.
yeah. I mean, it's just genuine connection. Again,
Mhm.
why we're here, why I'm interested in talking, right? Uh, Uncovering more than just a PFP. I think PFPs are cool. I think tweets are cool.
They are cool.
But what I've learned about you in the last 57 minutes, both of you, uh, is deeper than the million conversations that happened on Twitter today in the crypto space, right? And that's what is important, and I think it's critically important that people need to understand a little bit more of. So yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, and I love your point about people, which brings us into Web3, because I think community and people is one of the main aspects of why Web3 is so intriguing to a lot of people. So let's just get the story from Trips, because Trips is yawning here, and I know it's late. I want to get him back awake just a
I'm
little
boring.
bit.
It's my fault, dude.
No, you're
No,
not
no,
boring, man. I
sorry.
think it's fascinating.
I've
Well,
been
I
burning.
promise I'll only keep us for like another half hour if you can handle it, because I want to get through the Web3 stuff. Tell me this beautiful story about how, because what's also cool, right, is we've gone through this story. You guys have lived um, drastically different lives, but like you've somehow uh, united in the Web3 space, have become kindred spirits, and have launched your own Web3 project together. Like, that's amazing, right? So tell me how this beautiful budding relationship started.
Okay. So, I mean, it started with simply, I think it was in Dob. He, added me in the chat and was like, "Hey,
Yeah, because Trips is everywhere, man. You know how
yeah."
it is. He's everywhere.
Kind of all over
Trips
the
is
place.
everywhere.
But he was trying to send me a friend request, and like for my Ethereum days,
I was trying to
uh,
rug you.
yeah, he's trying to rug me, and like I've got my account on lockdown, so it's like you can't friend request me. And he's like, "Dude, like, I'm trying to send you a friend request. I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." So I sent him a friend request, and he
Uh-huh.
was like, "Hey, you're doing that Naked Yeti, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah. What's up?" And he starts telling me about this project. He's like, "Well, I have a project, an art project, and I think it'd be cool if the Naked Yetis, like somehow were involved." And I was like, "Oh, we could be like an incubator, and like help you out and help you launch this." And so he's kind of told me a little bit about it, like what he was doing with the black ashes from Say, and how he'd kind of written his own code and, algorithm, and showed me like one or two samples. And I was like, holy shit, these are fucking so cool. I was like, we got to do something with this. Like, this is great. And it's kind of like so he was not in the Naked Yeti Club yet. And so I was in VC with some of the guys and told them about it. And I was like, we got to do this project. And everybody was like, oh yeah, let's do it. And one of our other members was like, well, we need to get him in here and hit him up, send him a Naked Yeti. And yeah, we kind of jumped him into the club, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what was really cool, and so I'll take this moment to point this out. For me personally, like, I've kind of battled addiction, and especially with alcohol. Like, I'm 5 months sober currently.
Congrats, brother.
Yeah,
I've been there, bro.
Yeah. And so it's just something I've struggled with, on and off. But so I have a Bible verse in my Discord bio, and that's from Ephesians 6:12. And it says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And it's from a broader passage about, wearing the spiritual armor of God. And, for me, putting on the spiritual armor of God helps me to kind of stay focused and stay in my lane and, not drift off into, getting drunk all the time, because it's no good for me.
Right.
I can't have one beer. It's like, I'll just drink the whole fucking 12 pack and then it's, I'm done. So
yeah.
but simply, pardon me. He's like, well, hey, part of the reason.
You want to go get some water, bruh?
Yeah, I'm losing my voice here. Hold on.
Take your time. Take your time.
Dude, go get a glass of water or something if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Let me get a bottle of water. Jeez.
There we go. It's got a little frog in the throat.
But I think I know what I was gonna say.
Yeah. What was he gonna say? I feel like you know what he was gonna say.
Yeah, I noticed, on his bio that he had that Bible verse, and that's actually kind of the reason why I even hit him up in the first place.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, he must know something, and so we started talking. There he is.
Yeah.
And that's how it really started.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, spirituality kind of brought you guys together, which is super cool.
God, it's a God thing in my mind, which I believe in that. I believe God opens doors at the right time,
right,
and the right people, and it's kind of like, it's your choice if you walk through it or not.
Right.
It's funny because Simply was like, oh, I noticed your bio, Ephesians 6:12, and he goes, he said, I'm an MK. And I was like, MK, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, what? I don't get it, So
Is that a gun?
Supposed to mean? And that was shorthand, we all talk in acronyms in Web3, what's the TLDR, what's the WAG?
Right.
He's like, a missionary kid, like, I'm supposed to know what an MK is.
Oh yeah, I would have said the same thing. What the hell are you talking about, bro?
No, it's something I said and hoped that you knew, and then if you didn't, I was gonna be like, oh, never mind,
You don't get it. No, that's awesome. So that's a really cool story of how you two met. Before we get into the project, though, I'll go with you. I'm really interested from you, and I'll start with you, Trips. We don't have to go through the whole Web3 journey, right? I think let's talk specifically, say, any tidbits before you found, say, of like what attracted you to Web3, and then why particularly like getting as hardcore into say as you have.
Okay, yeah. So Web3, the TLDR, was my cousin who I hadn't talked to in 4 years, because he kind of moved off, off grid. Literally, dude bought a cabin and some land and like went totally off grid. Nobody heard from him for 4 years. He pops up out of the blue, just calls me one day, January 2021, And he's like, "What's up, motherfucker?" You know, and I'm like, "What's up, dude? Like, where you been?" And he goes, "I'm rich." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about, man?" And he'd been
Sounds like a crypto Chad.
yeah, oh, he's a total Chad. Yeah, total Chad. And he was a little bit older than me, and um, he'd gotten into crypto in like 2015, 2016, and had been like DCAing Bitcoin, and got into Doge early, got into Matic early, got into Theta at like 2 cents. I mean, just had blown up his portfolio, and I was like, "What the hell, man?" You know, I'd kind of heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know, and so he came to visit, and he brought his laptop, and he opened his laptop, and he showed me his Atomic wallet, because that was like his favorite wallet at the time.
Right.
And his portfolio was like 8.5 million. And you know, he said, I started with 20K. You know, he started with 20,000 that he bought in like 2016.
Jesus.
And I was like, holy shit, I'm hooked, sold. You know, like, how do I do this? So you know, he set me up a wallet, and sent me like some Doge, a little bit of Bitcoin. You know, he sent me like $500 worth of crypto. And yeah, and I was like, well, where do I learn about this? And his favorite YouTuber was Chico Crypto. I don't know if y'all remember Chico.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, Chico Crypto. He made YouTube videos, and I was like, so he goes, watch Chico Crypto. And the first Chico Crypto video I watched, he was talking about Alchemist and the Crucible NFT, and it was this DeFi NFT, right? And I was like, all right, this seems like cool. I'll learn about this. Had never been on Discord. I didn't have Twitter because I don't do so. I hate social media with a passion.
Right.
I just think it's drains people's life force, especially Facebook. I fucking hate that shit. But you know, it was like, okay, if you're gonna be in Web3, you have to have crypto Twitter. You know, so begrudgingly, I opened a Twitter, and then I'd learned about Discord, and started a Discord account, and went and learned how to mint a Crucible. And so that was the first NFT I ever minted. It was like March 2021.
Right.
And just been hooked ever since. You know, I was like, I love this. Like, I love Web3 and the people you meet, and just the spirit of it, you know, decentralization, and like the wag me mentality, you know, as cliche as that is. Like, I still believe wholeheartedly in that.
Right.
But, you know, got really burned out there on ETH, and just how toxic it was becoming, and all the gatekeeping, and it's just so fucking expensive, you know, like, I mean, $40 to, you know, move an NFT from one wallet to the other. And so I was kind of done, you know, I'd been through some IRL stuff. I was kind of struggling financially. I'd cashed out a lot of my shit, and just needed a break mentally, walked away,
Right.
you know, and, I I found some airdrops in my MetaMask, the Optimism, you know, like over Christmas break, or maybe right before. It was mid-December. You know, and had about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of Optimism airdrops. Maybe not that much, maybe two or three. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm back in the game. And I'd been seeing people talk about Say, and I was like, okay, this is different. This is new. I'm gonna go see what this is all about. And like, when I get into something, I go full speed. I'm just like, all right, let's go. So yeah, I mean, I kind of got in and started. Like, the first NFT I minted on Say was like Super Orcs or something. It was like the third or fourth collection, I think, on Palette. Some orc. I can't remember now what it was called, but yeah. Then the Dobbs came along, and we started the Naked Yetis, and yeah, it's kind of here I am talking to you guys.
So was Say just more of just the functionality of low gas fees, or was it the fact that it was the beginning of something new? What was it there?
Yeah, I think something new. And like, you know, I researched it a little bit, and then I listened to a few spaces, and I've always believed in, like, that blockchain is going to be, you know, the future. And I just think the first cycle around when I got in, it was like, you know, the whole we're still early, and we're still early, but then, you know, 3 years ago, like, we were fucking early.
Right.
And like for me, it clicked instantly. And then you go try and explain it to people, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, shut up." You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And we're getting there. You know, like I said, I've got family now that's opening Coinbase accounts, and I had a cousin text me the other day, and he's like, "How do I buy Pepe?" You know, and I just laughed. I was like, "Holy shit, dude, you're asking me about Pepe?" I was like, "I was trying to get you to buy Bitcoin at
Oh my
15,000 last
god.
year." You know, like, what
They're
the fuck?
asking about Pepe, bro.
Yeah, like, you're
Not
Fantastic.
asking me
even
about Pepe
Bitcoin,
now.
dude. That's so funny.
But yeah, with Say, you know, it's just like, and you transact on it, and then you start getting into the community, and you know, it's just like it is. It's this beautiful little kind of baby that I think we're all very privileged to be a part of, and
Yeah.
kind of early on. And I mean, I think it could really, you know, be one of the next big movers in this space. So it's, you know, I feel like I just kind of landed here, and again, I think everything happens for a reason. So yeah.
No, I love it, man. Beautiful story. Coming over to you, Simply. Uh, TL too long didn't. I have to literally say it out in my head, right? Too long didn't read the TLDR of your intro into Web3, and then I really want to get into kind of why Say, and then really kind of the idea behind your project, because I think it is fascinating.
Web3, I probably just got in because it was like it was just the craze, you know.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it's really funny because the money making schemes, it went from drop shipping and then it went to Amazon FBA,
Yeah.
and then it went to NFTs, and it was just like the same guys that just like
Yeah.
cycled over to NFTs. So I'm like, huh, interesting. So went into NFTs.
The shoe guys there too, right?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, like the whole collector group of a whole, you know, variety of different types of collectors for sure.
Right. Right.
It's fascinating.
So you were
Yeah.
into drop shipping and stuff, and kind of followed the
Oh
crowd,
yeah.
or
Yeah, everything. You know, whatever that was kind of like the hustle at the time. I
right,
think I was ahead than most people with those things,
right,
you know, but still NFT is the most fun.
right.
And that's of course after my own share of like everybody else, like rugs. There's
Yeah.
actually my first project that became like part of the team, and essentially, you know, I helped them slow rug it essentially.
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's real sad,
Yeah.
but because I got kind of rug right off the bat, I learned a lot of hard lessons like right away.
Yeah.
And so I just started going into just degen flipping
Mhm.
everything, and
Right.
it was really fun for me. Some really big regret flips, you know, obviously everybody has a lot of those.
Yeah.
The ERC 721A contract from Mizuki changed a lot of things when, you know, you could start minting multiple NFTs with one gas fee, etc. That changed the whole profit game, you know, especially for free mints too, because
Right.
sometimes you get these gems. Oh man, I'm gonna sound like such an asshole, but you know, you can find exploits in ETH contracts sometimes. So they only want you to mint 3 per wallet, but you mint like 20, you know,
Right.
shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, it was just really fun stuff. I mean, all that stuff was just really fun for me. The hustle, the buying and selling, and then you know, I think around the time Blur came out and the no royalty, all that stuff came out. That's kind of like when I left. And I came back just because of I think I told you this exactly like this. I was taking a shit. And
Yes.
you know, right? And going through my Flipboard, looking through news, and I see Fidenza sells $175,000. I'm like, what? It's like 2023, like still is like.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. I'm like, for sure enough, it's still going for like, you know, 80. 70 ETH or something. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And so I started I hopped onto my Twitter account in like, 9 months to a year. And all the people basically the big people that I was following were posting about Say and stuff like that. And that's when I started looking and minted NFTs. Some say NFTs. I kind of don't remember which my first one was. Maybe it was Rug Ducks.
Rug
Yeah.
ducks. You ended up rugging.
That didn't age well, did it?
Hey, at least they were honest in the name.
Hey, true. But yeah, it's kind of started there, and I found Dob. That's when I found Trips, found the Naked Dob DAO. Kind of heartwarming story where they kind of fronted me a Naked Dob, and then they really big time helped me to launch a live 1111, and
Right.
I was able to send the Naked back to Tragic Downer. He's the member who sent it to me, and I got my own Forever Naked Dob too now. It's dope, and also sending them 25% of all royalties too, and they've been building a lot of cool shit. Super
Yeah.
excited. Just really, it's very communal. Everything's by vote. I mean, I love this stuff. I feel like this is what like Web3 should be. You
Right.
know, it's just we're all equals. There's no greater you or I, but we have a vote and we can make decisions on our funds, things like that. Do cool stuff with it, build tools, explore Web3 together, but in a more like tight knit group. And that is also kind of like the same thing that we apply to Alive. Alive, however, yeah, I don't know how much time we got, but
Yeah, we got time.
I thought that Tyler Hobbs created fidenzas with block hash values. And then I found out that that wasn't true. It was people's wallet addresses. So I was like, maybe I should do it with block hashes. And that's how it all
Right.
started. And I had already tried to do some AI projects on ETH, which just weren't successful. Really didn't garner that much attention, really. So I did mess around with a lot of AI tools, probably before even Midjourney. If you guys know, there's like a lot of Google collaboration programs that were built back then. There was like a lot of like beta test stuff like before
Right.
Midjourney, and that's kind of like what was tweaked to make Alive with my own algo and stuff like that. And I chose it that way so that I mean, y'all will never find that one. I mean, it's downloaded on my computer. I try to find it again, it's gone.
Yeah.
But I have a hard copy on my computer, and it'll probably never make anything ever again. And the other artworks that I use, it's still my algo, but it's more modern AI, so I
Right.
can create more detailed stuff, more directed uh, images. And the name, kind of like what we touched on earlier, yeah, 1111 is the number of awakening. I have told many people, if you're in a library, you definitely heard me say that many times. And it is also the number that I don't know how he did it, but the number kept popping up, and I couldn't not see it for
Right.
a year, every day, everywhere. It was insane, and it kind of led me to certain things, certain people, and yeah. And it's funny because my parents, try to hammer this in for ages, but it just didn't work until I had to really ask some hard questions for myself, which is, why am I here?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, why, why do I even do this? Essentially, it gets a little heavy, but I found the answer, with him, and that was the number that he woke me up with, and just it's an aggregation of things that make you alive, you know, make you a human being. I guess there's just many layers. I guess we will find out together as we go on, but.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a beautiful story, man. I mean, it's just nice to hear because there's meaning behind it, right? There's far too many projects or things that happen in this space that are literally cash grabs, and yet again, you kind of feel of sharing your story now, understanding the context of your background, that what you're creating with Alive and what you will create in the future has meaning to it, and that is more powerful than a majority of things that are happening in the space. I think my question to you is because you hinted at this earlier, and I'm really interested in this. You said you're not an artist, right? But if
Yeah.
you were, if someone were to look, you produced some AI art, right?
Exactly.
That your project is a form of art. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So I guess like even in my mind, the traditional view of who I view as artists are, painters. They use their hands and
Yeah,
they draw with, whatever medium they have. It could be anything. But then, yeah, when it comes to AI now, we're talking about this whole new cutting edge technology, right?
right,
Also, somewhat a market disruptor that a lot of people are sort of afraid of. It's new,
right.
and the fear of the unknown is always, yeah. It's quite fearful. I can understand it, but I also do think that it is definitely not going to go away. If anything, it's going to get better and crazier.
Yeah,
And right now it could be on kind of on the borderline edge, but I think as time goes on, it'll be more and more widely adopted. As much as it sounds ridiculous that, you know, really just takes for you to require to know how to talk to computers and to give the right prompts
yes,
to get the results that you want.
yeah,
Like there's going to be a lot of jobs that's going to pay you, a ton of money for you to just type
right. Prompts.
to
Yeah,
chat GPT.
yeah,
You can't overlook this. As much as it sounds ridiculous, I mean, this is where we're going. Just because why wouldn't you? It's a super powerful tool, you know? And it's only gonna get stronger, which I guess, yeah, therein lies the fear that people have, It's
right.
Terminator and Skynet,
Hmm.
Christian Bale, and
Look,
yeah.
man, in two ways: Skynet or Matrix. We're plugged in, and we just don't even know
Oof.
where we are.
They're
We got
both
two options.
such good options.
We're heading there.
Yeah.
I,
Uh,
I
I'll
always,
choose the Matrix. Yeah.
I always ask people like, well, if AI had already completed the takeover, would you even be able to know? Could you tell?
Dude,
Because like it would be in
stop.
self-preservation mode, right? I mean, like, yeah.
I'm an
How would you
AI.
know?
I mean, how would you know I'm not AI? Like, how would you
Yeah.
know?
exactly.
You know,
Uh,
I'm a bot.
before I get to you, because Trips, I'm interested in your thoughts on Alive as well too.
Yeah.
I always am fascinated by this question, right? Because if you're dabbling in AI, like you have obviously uh, gotten a deeper understanding of AI because of the way that you were able to output your artwork in same form and fashion, right? If you're just going into Midjourney and typing in prompts, you're going to get random shit all the time. You can create some really cool stuff, but to try to then start tweaking that, you need to know what you're doing. So when you started going down that AI rabbit hole, uh, how do you produce your own artwork? Are you looking at different AI engines? Are you running kind of your own AI programs on your computer? Or are you working with existing AI technologies and just gotten really good at prompting? What does that look like to you?
The advantage of using AI, and really it could be many different types of AI, and that is the way that I like it, so that I can pivot really quickly. But the point is that I can input my algorithm, my code into any AI, and they will understand my code, because it's just code. They inherently understand it. So there's a kind of an advantage in that, to have your own style, right?
Right,
And your own algorithm pre-prompts. What I mean,
right,
that the computer inherently understands, and it'll create your style, you know, maybe albeit in some different styles depending on, which AI you're using. But
mhm,
Alive 1111 is, made with something that is not going to be widely available probably ever, because it's old shit.
right,
Um, the new backgrounds that I'm making for like my posts or collaborations, I am using a newer version of AI, but it
mhm,
is still, my code. It's gonna be hard to get.
right.
Yeah.
And so if somebody wants to go down that route, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be to them? Because I'm interested in AI, right? But I just go into Mid Journey and type some prompts, and I'm excited for whatever it pops out. But let's say, you know what, I've got time.
Mm-hmm.
I've decided, you know what, screw this podcast. I'm spending all my time in AI.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go down the rabbit hole? What's the best way? What would you recommend people to start
Mm,
soaking
the
up?
best way, dude. I don't know. I feel like I know the best answer to this, and it is just to have fun.
Right.
You know, because if you're having fun with it, the amount of stuff you'll learn, it's like a multiplier. Because, especially like, for someone like me with mad ADHD, like we got that hyper focus with things that we're just kind of interested in. So if it's fun to you, just keep doing it, because I don't know, you're going to realize very quick, right? When you see people do AI artwork or they create projects out of it, you can make quick judgments. But also, if you try to make 1,000 of it, you know,
Yeah.
consistently, like even that is pretty. Is there is some work required to keep some consistency, to keep some quality for sure. And there's just a lot of things you learn just from having fun, because AI is, as we know, very smart, but
Yeah.
it's also like
Stupid.
just stupid, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
incredibly dumb sometimes.
Right.
Like I remember my buddy, my real life buddy, was asking me to create this scene of David and Goliath,
Yeah.
right? And I'm trying to. This AI is keep putting a bow in David's hands, but we all know it's a sling and stone.
Yeah.
And I'm like feeding it images like, this is a sling, you dumbass.
Yeah.
Like this is a rock, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just constantly making a bow no matter what. It's incredible. You know,
Right.
and this is like some like the newest stuff that you get. So it's like, yeah, AI can be really smart, but also to get it to exactly what you need to do, sometimes there is some tricks involved. There's a lot of tricks. There's a
Right.
lot of tricks. And you learn them by having fun, because sometimes I have learned some tricks just through accidents, you know?
Give me an example of a trick. That's
Oh,
interesting to me.
oh man. No. It's a lot. Even with these things, even with small amount of detail, changes a lot,
Right.
because it just kind of changes the whole perspective of how you understand AI understands what you tell it to do.
Right.
And this just comes with experience. And I would just say, go about it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
And
yeah.
have fun, you know?
Mhm. No, I love that advice, and I think that's great. Before we get and believe it or not, we've been talking for an hour and a half. I want to be cognizant of time, but I'm interested. What I'd love to get is Trips, your insight on Alive, what it means to you, and then both. Let's just talk about after that the next 6 to 12 months, what Say means to you, what you're really excited about, and how your relationship is going to continue to evolve. So let's start Trips with just the simple question: what does Alive mean to you? Uh, what did you get out of the experience so far? And what does it look like in the future to you?
Yeah, I mean, what it means to me is just like simply said, it's fun. Like I'm having fun again in Web3. I got the opportunity. I don't code. I don't create AI art. I'm kind of like, in my official role is the vibes engine. And I'm all about community. And like
Yeah,
that kind of spirit of just what Web
He's our
3.0
mascot.
should be. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was an opportunity, and I know a good thing when I see it. Like again, after 5 minutes of being in a DM with Simply, and he kind of briefly explained the project and showed me a couple samples. I was like, this is gonna be fucking lit. I was like, I just knew it instantly. And people were like, well, what is it? And I was like, it's art. It's free art. That's it. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Oh, well, is that AI? People be like, is that AI art? And I'm like, yeah, you go try and do it. You know what I mean? Like, go try and input, prompt an AI to get these results and get
right,
back to me. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, it's funny how people can be so dismissive, like, oh, that's just AI. It's like, yeah, let's see you fucking try it. You know what I mean?
right,
And yeah, so, and I like how Simply's very, when we were early on in the process of kind of getting everything ready, he'd be like, well, I'm not an artist. And I was like, well, to me, I mean, you are an artist. Like, cause just because you're not painting something, you know, that has nothing to do with it. Like, your art is like learning how to code and prompt this AI to get these results, kind of like he's talking about with David and a bow. It's like, it's fucking slingshot, it's not a bow. Like, damn it, you kind of want to kick it, but you can't kick the AI. You have to talk to it differently, you got to
No, I
sweet
would
talk
literally insult it. Like,
right,
like
right.
you get
it.
so angry. But no, it doesn't work neither.
But yeah, no, like, it's fun, and like, we've created just a cool community, and it's like the people in the Alive server get it. They're there because they like the art and they like the vibes. We created the kind of slogan: community, culture, vibes, and art, and that's what
Right.
it is. And it's
Right.
just a bunch of Web3 people who really enjoy the art, enjoy each other's company, and we're having a good time and we're vibing. And look, we've got like a banger, like one of the hottest art collections on site, and where it can go from here. I mean, I think again, it's all about the community. I mean, we keep strong, keep together, keep having fun. I mean, people are accumulating, and if in my mind, if Say really takes off, like I think it's going to, when the EVM parallelization is full throttle, and the liquidity comes and the builders come, and you know this is the first AI art collection with the provenance and the unique tie-in by using the blockchain hash. That's what I think Simply did that was really unique, and it's got that narrative and that historical and that cultural aspect that collectors want, and like. And so yeah, I mean, I think the sky's the limit, you know what I mean? And if people hold and accumulate and they just tell their friends, oh, dude, you got to check this collection out. It's cool. Like, you like this server, pick a piece up. And so I think the sky's the limit, and we've got the we kind of, I think we caught lightning in a bottle, so to speak. So I'm just kind of riding it with everybody else and having a fucking damn good time, on the journey.
So this is the natural follow-up question, and this will be for both of you. I'll start with you, Trip, since we're on you. Why do obviously been extremely successful recently? I think the floor went over 1,000. Say,
Yeah, 1420 was the all-time high.
got to 1420, right? What do you attribute that to?
Just people, the holders in the community believing in Simply and the art, vibing off each other. And I mean, now we've got the alpha, which is like the top 33 holders. So it's just kind of, it's like the snowball effect. Once you get that juju and you get moving in the right direction, it's just, people are attracted to it. We've created something that people are just kind of naturally like, they want to come see what it's all about.
How much weight do you put into being one of the first, legit good AI projects as well?
I think that has a lot to do with it. It's, but it's good. It's like,
Right.
if you look at the collection, and what's really unique is there's no traits. You can't search or filter by traits. It's just like each piece is the block hash. That's its trait.
Right.
But these traits are starting to emerge. You got, people, you're saying, oh, look, you got the black backgrounds, or you got the pieces that have the B, we call them the Bitcoin pieces.
Right.
But you have to look through the collection and appreciate it. And then everybody kind of has a certain piece that they vibe with and connect with. And that's the beauty of it. There's a little something for everybody. But as a set, it's a great collection, and it just resonates with people. People see it and they're like, wow, this is really cool, and then they wonder like, oh, what's the story behind this? And one thing kind of leads to the other.
So same question for you, Simply. What do you attribute to the success? How do you feel as being the creator of this beautiful AI art, and what are your thoughts there?
I think my guys are just built different. That's it, But I don't know. I think they know what they got. I think they understand what they have. And I mean, all I got to say is just, really, really grateful that they believe in the project, and that they, they've been supporting me just amazingly.
Right.
And I'm just gonna keep going. And that's the thing, is that, like Trip said, we only started out as just a simple art project, but the fact is, I'm just a mad degen, and I really love degen stuff. So I'm gonna know what degens want.
Right.
Which is free stuff. Who knew? So easy. We're gonna keep doing it, and honestly, just experimenting with a lot of things. It's kind of what people say. We try some shit, do some new shit, kind of thing, and just keep repeating it. But obviously, yeah, there are a lot of lessons that I've learned throughout Web3. Definitely certain disciplines, certain no-nos that I'll keep in mind. You're right. Going to the
Bro, you
future.
can't drop that and then not tell me something. Come on.
I mean, one
no.
thing is gonna be just like a simple thing, like dilution. That was like a big thing, even when I was planning to drop airdrops. I was getting kind of, hey, you're gonna dilute the collection of Alive.
Right.
But then at that point, I think many people kind of didn't really understand why Alive was special in their own regard. Because it is literally generated from hash, while these other artworks, they're made with my style, right? But they're not made with hash. And And that's going to be the main difference between most of my art and Alive 1111. It's the Genesis collection with the hash. And yeah, and I've seen just but also it's hard to say with dilution with things too. Like for example, like Azuki, like they what was it 20,000 or 30,000 beans? I'm pretty sure it was 30,000 beans.
Right.
And it was still going for like 8.5 ETH floor at some point. And Azuki's was at like 15, 20, you know? And that was like 3 times their supply. But I mean, nobody really had an issue with dilution. So it seems like, it's about timing. Like timing is just so important,
Huge.
And one of the main things that I've learned is you can't a lot of times force things, but you can prepare, for it to happen. Right. And I think that's kind of like the best strategy that we have been going through it. We're just kind of preparing it and we're just dropping things as we go. But also, yeah, really love doing collaborations. And I feel like we have like the perfect project to almost do collaborations because we're a background project, essentially. Like
Right.
we're not a PFP project. And so we can generally collab with a lot of people, and do a lot of cool, fun stuff together. And I feel like that's also kind of a culture that I want to foster and say too. It doesn't have to be cutthroat. We could all work together, right? And we can all achieve the same goal together because there's a lot of amazing builders here. If we like work towards the same goal, I'm pretty sure we can make the Say Network NFT space like just truly the most banging place, And we already have like top-notch community around in Say. So it's just only gonna get better if that's kind of how we think about it, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, dude, I think that was beautiful. And I think a lot of things that you said are relevant. But the thing that I get from both of you, yes, of course, being first is a massive advantage, right?
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
you
Big
had a
time.
couple things that were going for you too. One, you're a really good AI artist, right? Like you've obviously can tell that you've learned a lot about AI. You've learned how to train it. You've learned tricks of the trade, and you've gone deep into it. So the consistency and the artwork, top notch. But three, and this is I've talked to. You're probably getting pretty close to like 200 founders on my show, and
Woo!
there is not anything that trumps community, hands down, because the real
Yeah.
innovation here is, yes, blockchain exists, but it really is brand 3.0. And for the first time, you're able to create an entity, a business, an art project, a collection, whatever you want to call it, and engage your community and your supporters like never before, right? The closest you got to in Web 2 was I use Red Bull as the example, right? Red Bull was one of the first big companies to say, hey, we're going to adapt a lifestyle culture and embrace that brand. And then they did eventing, and Red Bull became literally a lifestyle. And that brand, which was an energy drink, launched a media company, right? And that's thinking differently about branding. But here, you're able to take that community and have those altar supporters listen to them like you've never been able to listen to before, and grow and cultivate that together. I think that's really what you have, which is powerful. And then in addition, not only are you one of the first AI people, now you're early in the network with Say as well. So the opportunities are really endless.
Yeah, man. Totally agree. And that is actually one thing that I feel like as a founder that we can take for granted. Especially like if you're coming from like a business background, or if you're kind of the small cog in a big wheel, in a big machine,
Right.
a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of hierarchy, stuff like that. Like you rarely, like, even if you're a CEO or something, you just will not really ever get a chance to talk to the guy that you really need to hear from, you know, in the
Mhm.
company, because
Mhm.
there's so many buffers in between them. They're never gonna see each other or
Right.
talk to each other or never understand each other. And so one of my biggest beefs I had with corporations, or even like aerospace, or you know I used to develop apps for Apple a little bit, just a bunch of different stuff. I had so many kinds of jobs, but that's the one thing that I wish had happened better, is communication. But the big advantage that we have with, in Web3, especially with NFTs and the whole Discord functionality, right?
Right.
Because I can talk to everyone just right there in a live chat with all my holders. I can understand their sentiment. I can see what they're talking about. You know, even if it looks like I'm not there, I'm there. I'm reading. I'm seeing what you guys are saying. You know,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
and that's a great advantage. This direct line of communication, to be able to ask, like, what do you guys think about this idea? Terrible idea, yay or nay? Like, even those things, it's so good. And also, like, like Trips mentioned, we have the alphas. It's always just good to have like multiple levels of information, right? Because
Yep.
you just want to know it in multiple levels, because some people think a bit differently than other people, and it's good to know both and to make decisions on. I mean, you can't make everyone happy, but you can try your best to, which is what I'm trying to do. And the only way that I can think that I can best achieve that is through direct, clear communication. There's just no other way, you know? That's key. And community is key for sure.
100%.
And
No.
one thing I'll add to that is, why I think a good leader, founder, leads from within the community, and that's one thing I think that simply sets himself apart with, is the fact that, like, he's there every day in chat. He's just one of the community. He doesn't see himself as like, I'm the, look at me. He's like, no, I'm just one of you guys. It's just like, we're all in this together, and I mean, I think people really vibe with that pretty
Yeah.
hard, and that's going to be a key to longevity, because you see people in this space. I've seen it over and over in these projects. Like, somebody launches a successful project, and then that little thing called the ego, steps in, and they start thinking they're fucking hot shit and their shit doesn't stink, and oh, look at me, I'm cool. And it's like that's the exact opposite approach that I
Yep.
want to see. It's like that, and that go. I'll circle this all the way back to, my childhood. Like, my family ran grocery stores, and um, you know, they would go and sack the groceries with their employees, and work the checkouts and stock the food. They didn't just sit up in the office, like, kind of above everybody else. You got to get in there and roll your sleeves up and
Yep.
lead from within. You know what I mean? And that is the key to getting the community to stick together and hang around for the long haul. And that's what you see. The best projects have, like, some of the OG communities that are, it's still the same group that have been
Yep.
there all along.
Yep. So there's two really beautiful things that happen there. One, totally agree with what you say. Some of the most successful projects I've seen, the founders are intimately involved in their community. My PFP, right? Pons is in that community and Discord for the plague all the time.
Hmm.
He is part of the community as a founder as well. But he does a very good job of knowing his role as a founder as well. There can be a little gray, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
hear your community, you also have to act as a founder, right? And
Yeah.
you can slip up. I mean, you use the parallel equivalent of a manager. If you're a manager or leader in corporate America, I learned the hard lesson when I was young. Once I started managing people, I thought being a good friend was a good leader, and it's absolutely not. It couldn't be more opposite, right? So you have to understand those nuances as well as you grow. But Web3, there's a different angle to it, and I agree with what you said. But honestly, one of the more beautiful things that just happened is Trips. I don't know if you remember about an hour and 50 minutes ago when I asked you about your childhood and you gave me one sentence. You just gave me a beautiful explanation of why Simply is a good founder and then linked it back to your childhood. So
Yeah,
now,
see how I did that there?
yeah.
I
So
was
now
saving
you
that.
fully understand what we do here on the Midlife Crisis podcast. And I'm very, very impressed. All right, let's do this, gents. We're almost at 2 hours. We're wrapping up. I do have one last question that I always ask. It's a softball, but either of you can take this. What does the next 6 to 12 months look like for Alive, Simply, and Trips in the Say ecosystem?
Euphoria.
We could just leave it at that. It's totally up to you. Give me a little bit more tidbits. I know euphoria. I feel it right now.
I just think it's gonna be a lot of fun, especially with V2 coming out. There's just so many things that so many doors that opens with EVM parallelization. You know, all the dApps that are already available. Like, I don't know if you've already tried like claiming some say on the testnet and minting the WeBump thingy, and they sent me like, what was it, like 0.0001 say, and I'm like, is this gonna go through, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And you mint it with your MetaMask, and you're like, what? It's not asking for $60.
Yeah. Right.
And it actually mints. You're just excited, you know?
Yeah.
And you know
It's
what's
like,
bullish?
yeah,
There've
it's
been like
cutting edge.
there've been like 55,000 of those have been minted now.
That's insane. And
Yeah.
all of
I
these people
want
are
to
going to
do that
realize,
again.
right? Like, because I know a lot of ETH people or Soul people, you know, when we mention say it's the fastest layer one, gas is cheap, you know, they always like tell me like, well, you know, layer two is more efficient, you know.
Mhm.
But the thing is, like, when you actually mint it, you understand like the level of efficiency we're talking about is just not even close to what you had imagined.
Right.
And now people are kind of like really seeing that. So
Yeah.
super bullish. And along with that, you know, say NFTs is kind of like new tech, right? Like Alive 1111, like we're essentially like borderline, like, you know, teasing the edge kind of area. We're not fully adopted yet, but we're kind of a thing, and it's already disrupting the market, you know, but it's not really widely adopted yet. But I do think that it will be, and say also. And so yeah, super bullish. I think a lot of, like, you started out with how it has a lot of like early soul vibes.
Yeah.
Been hearing that a lot. Um, I don't know too much about soul, but I get a lot of early ETH vibes, which
Yeah.
I hear about that too. There's just
Right.
a lot of good vibes going around and say all around.
Mhm.
And we talked about this on Spaces a lot. Yeah, we gotta do our due diligence, you know, because money's gonna come in,
Yep.
right? We gotta help our community, you know, just through this whole process. And again, if there's something that I really want to do for live holders, is I want to make it safe, and I want to make it easy for them, you know, just because I just know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Just waking up in 3 a.m.s and trying to mint, and your gas fails and all that stuff.
Miserable.
If I
Yeah.
can turn this space into something where I can just make it easier for everybody, because I think that'll just make more fun. You
Right.
know, it's all this like cutthroat, cash grabby aspects of projects that make things super annoying and not fun. And yeah, gives everyone's, you know, bags under their eyes. So
Yep. Dude, I just had an idea that spawned. We should totally make some video series about how to be safe and make it fun. I mean, I think there's an opportunity there for the live community and
That'd be
us,
dope.
say OGs in general, right?
Hell
I'm really
yeah.
trying to think about how to extend this podcast and because we cover a wealth of information, right? And I think education is a huge untapped potential in the Web3. I don't think anybody's done it correctly or right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think us as kind of say originators that have been around for the space, there's a huge opportunity in that, right?
Yeah.
Because to your point, the money will come in, which brings, listen, when you have a lot of money, there's a reason why crypto is so scammy, right? There's billions of dollars at stake, and there's a lot of bad people and actors that want that. Not to mention, in parts of the world, an ETH changes your life drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you put it in perspective of being in different situations, a lot of things can happen.
That's true.
I think that was beautiful of kind of what the future looks like. Trips, do you want to add anything, or did simply crush it?
I think he crushed it. But yeah, the future is what we make of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, I'd like to see some IRL events of some sort. Maybe we've talked to one holder, Biggie Poppins. He's like really wanting to like maybe try and do an art blocks installation in Marfa, Texas, which is the little town. Maybe do some type of IRL stuff. But I think it's we'll see what happens. I think right now we're just kind of here and taking it one day at a time and just having fun. That's what it's all about.
Well, I think that is a great way to kind of wind it down. Like I said, one more question. It's very simple. We have now been talking for almost 2 hours. We've gone all over the place, man. We've been to Africa. We went to Canada. We talked about girls in skirts and why it's cold when you came to a warm place. We learned about oil. We learned about faith, religion, and how these two beautiful humans came together. So my question to you is, you've been in a ton of spaces. You've seen crypto Twitter. With that context, how do you think tonight went on the Midlife Crisis podcast? Your experience, please be critical. Give me feedback compared to what you usually do in the crypto Web3 space.
I don't know, man. This is awesome. Thanks for having me. And, it's just kind of like this opportunity for my holders to get to know me better. So it's a great opportunity. I think you did it. Just, it's a really cool setup. And I got Trips here. I got his support. So, if I was all alone here, I might have been stuttering and stuff, but,
Yeah, you
you
did good, man. You did good. Trips, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was fun. This is out of my wheelhouse. I've never done one of these before, so that's what Web3 is all about, though, right?
I think we'll have plenty of water ready next time for sure.
Yeah.
Get water ready. But like I said, there were some really cool things said in this podcast. We'll cut them up for shorts, and let's continue to talk and figure out how I think we can make some content in the future. I'll do my closing comments, and then we'll call it a night. And I'll start with you, Trips. The thing that struck me most about when you were talking is you're a genuine dude, man, and you want to do the right things for the right reasons, and that those are the people, and again, why we have these conversations, the people that you want to get behind in Web3. I think we're super fortunate to have somebody like you in the beginning of the safe space as well. I'm really glad to have met you. Now I feel like we've flourished a friendship online, and it has been beautiful. And I just thank you for your conviction. Thank you for your openness. I know you both in the beginning were like did not know what to expect, but as we went through, you opened up, man, and you shared some stories, and I think that means the world to you, world to me. And then finally, I know it's late where you are, so time with how busy you are balancing life, being in Discord, doing all the things that we do, it means the world to me because I think time is the most expensive thing that we all have. So thank you so much, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome.
And then simply, again, I think I could tell, it was hard in the beginning to open up, but you did, and you said some really, really, really beautiful things. And I think when I think about our conversation, I think you're insanely intelligent. I think you are a really, really good AI artist. And I think you understand the power of Web3, but you understand community. And I love how you're approaching I am a degen and I'm going to help my community navigate and not maybe make the mistakes that I made. And again, why I think you both linked up is you're a genuine human being. And that is first and foremost the thing that I look for when I look for people in Web3 and to get behind. So you both have 100% my support. I love the conversation and I cannot wait to continue to grow the friendship and make content together.
Thank you. And I think that is why we linked up too, because we both know that you're super genuine as well, Mike.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It's awesome.
And with that being said, people, we have come to a 2-hour podcast conclusion. I will be out next week in Disney with the family, but when I come back, we're hitting it hard. We've got zombies. I don't even know how he wants this. Infinity. Have you heard of the Zombie Say project?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Byron.
say on the end of zombies. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to say Zombie Say project. I've been talking to Infinity, really cool guy. The artwork I think is really fascinating. He'll be on the show. We got a company, Cartesi, who is doing a lot of Ethereum development work and a lot of AI stuff. It's going to be super fascinating. And then we've got another amazing prolific artist from the Say space, Sold One. He's making some beautiful, beautiful artwork, and we're going to have some fascinating conversations. That's it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We love you all. Mikey G, Simply, and Trips are out.